welcome to this Saturday morning live radio broadcast coming to you from Fairbanks, Alaska. I am Steve Floyd, the monkey behind the board here, so to speak. Joining me in the studio, Josh and Aaron Bennett, in what we have entitled Patriot's Lament. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Steve.
Morning.
All right, I understand it's a hot day out there. It's Memorial Day weekend. We're going to be having some issues, of course, with the heat affecting our equipment, and we're going to have issues with people being out of town and not necessarily glued to their radio, but we are certainly broadcasting on the internet. So if somebody is listening on the web, you can certainly join us in the chat room this morning, KFAR660.com, as we continue on here with the show. Josh, what is on your mind this morning?
Well, a few things we wanted to talk about. I think one of the important ones that ran through this week was the Defense Authorization Act that Congress passed wonderfully, 322 to 96, and I'd have to say that probably most of those were our wonderful Republican Party members. I know it was pushed through by the Republican leaders in the House of Representatives, and it went over to the Senate, and a good guy named Rand Paul filibustered the thing, which was pretty good of him, an actual patriot in the Senate, which is amazing to think about. And Senator Harry Reid pulled it out and put it in some small business bill and ended up getting passed anyways. I thought it was really interesting that Harry Reid, who I'll say would be our retard of the week, idiot, whatever you want to call him, said that with Rand Paul filibustering that as long as he did, he put the United States of America in grave jeopardy and danger, because during that time there were terrorists all over the world that were planning and implementing terrorist attacks just in the few seconds that it could have been past the 12 o'clock expiration date for the Patriot Act and the Authorization Act.
Yeah, you're on there. You know, I'll be sure.
Well, I was just going to say that obviously either if Harry Reid really thinks that just because of a few minutes of the Patriot Act not being reinstituted, we're in so much grave danger, he's either an idiot or he thinks that we're idiots. So I'd like to... We're the idiots. Rand Paul, good guy. His father, Ron Paul, made a speech about the War Authorization Act, which we're trying to figure out here and get it pulled up for you guys. The President of the United States was over dilly-dallying in Europe again while they passed this law, and he signed it with his new auto pen, which I'd like to give Senator or Representative Graves, actually a Republican from Georgia, I believe, came out and challenged the constitutionality of using an auto pen. The Constitution says that a bill, when passed by Congress, will be presented to the president, and if he approves of it, he will sign it. It doesn't say while he's in France he will authorize something or someone else to sign it for him, which is what he has done. I have to say that that would obviously be unconstitutional, but when have they been doing anything constitutional for the last several years anyways?
Can I jump in on that for just a second, Josh? 'Cause it seems to me that, because of the way technology has gone, we ourselves, everyday citizens use electronic signatures online to authorize purchase. We swipe a card and push in a code to authorize somebody to get into our bank account, whether we're doing that at a gas station or whether we're doing it at a supermarket. What is the difference between somebody reading something electronically on the other side of the globe and authorizing a signature be done electronically as opposed to physically looking at it and signing it?
Well, I'd say that authorize it to be signed is the key word. He is not authorized to authorize anyone else. It's very strict. It says that the President of the United States shall be presented with a bill and he shall sign it. Doesn't give him any authority to authorize anyone else to sign in his behalf. Doesn't give any authority to authorize the sign by auto pen, digital pen, anything. Says that he is supposed to be presented with the bill and he is supposed to sign it himself.
Just to play devil's advocate on the issue, isn't it possible that we're talking about a revolution of technology as opposed to a revolution of actually overthrowing the republic? Because I mean, it seems to me that the founders would not. I don't think they were technophobes. I don't think that they were saying that if they didn't say the president must sign with a quill pen dipped in ink onto a parchment made out of sheepskin. I mean, they didn't specify how the signature was supposed to be done, did they?
No, but he didn't sign it, did he?
Okay, well,
the bottom line is he did not sign the act. Just because there's technology and whatnot, we can use it all we want. He specifically told you must sign, and he authorized it to be signed.
The bottom line is they're a crappy act in the first place.
Yeah, really, the signatures. And after the fact, the bottom line of it is what Aaron just said. The fact that the Congress of the United States gave over their war powers to the President of the United States, giving him complete authority to declare war, to engage in war with our soldiers at any time, for any reason, anywhere he pleases.
Including against the United States citizens.
Including the citizens of the United States.
Did you find that clip?
You know what? I haven't found a clip. I found the speech, the actual, like, the words, but I haven't found the audio yet.
Well, if you look at
It's on YouTube.
the Constitution, which is hardly ever
The what's the whooshin?
Yeah, the who's the whatston. You have the Constitution of the United States giving Congress complete control of and authority to declare war, not the President of the United States. James Madison, who was one of the founders of our country, which apparently these people don't mean anything anymore, said very specifically, the president shall never have any authority whatsoever to declare war or put our soldiers into any kind of conflict without authorization of Congress. And for Congress to say, well, we're giving them authorization is a bunch of bunk.
Well, to give them authorization without having to ask for authorization in the future is basically to surrender your power.
Exactly.
To give up having to authorize it. Just go ahead whenever you want to. We've given you a blanket future authorization. Now that's not right.
Well, it's definitely not right because every year, or at least every 2 years, you have new congressmen coming into Congress, and they were never given the chance to exercise their constitutional authority to declare war. It's just it's absolutely moronic. Ron Paul had a pretty good speech there. He said that some of the main things of our Constitution and our government was obviously restrictive of the government to force them to use gold and silver for our monies, which now we have fiat paper dollars that are printed off at will as much as we want, and we have a $14.3 trillion debt right now, and we've actually hit the debt ceiling. They're asking us to raise the ceiling again so they can go another 14.3 trillion or however much in debt they want. The other thing that the Constitution was put in place for was to limit the President of the United States from putting us into foreign wars and getting us involved in foreign wars. Getting us involved with the... Oh, sorry. We got Ron Paul. We're going to...
We have Ron Paul. We're also waiting for him to load up here. I want to make sure that we have the bar all the way across before we actually start playing it. Last night I was talking about this with my son and my wife, and the whole family were sitting around talking about that whole thing of what Congress did by basically giving the president to declare war anytime he wants to. And the look on their face was priceless. And my son said, that's just like when the Republic gave over the power to the Emperor in the Star Wars movies.
That's exactly what I was just
And I'm like,
say.
you know what? I cannot believe that truth came across from a piece of fiction from Star Wars. But that is exactly right. This is the Emergency Powers Act. This is the same thing. This is how the Chancellor in Germany came to have so much power.
Yes.
They granted Hitler emergency war powers. That's exactly what happened.
And he took quite good use of it. Basically, what we're doing is putting America in an endless state of war, which another thing that our founders said often, Madison again was one of them, said that liberties are usually most likely taken away during foreign wars and under the pretense of protecting us during foreign wars. And by putting us in a constant state of war against the Muslim insurgents or the radicals, whatever they want to call them, they can constantly do like what they're doing with the Patriot Act. That's the only reason they got that thing passed through, was because of, we're going to get killed by a terrorist, so we must give away our rights. We must give Congress, or actually the executive power, all the power that he feels that he needs.
Well, the Nazi Party was able to get their point across by using the communists as their reason and get emergency powers granted to Hitler. How is it any different? Just because we haven't started dying yet?
Well, and that's the thing too, is that when did the people start dying in Hitler's Germany? I mean, he came to power in 1933? Is that right?
Yep.
There wasn't really. I mean, World War II didn't begin until 1939, and then you've got the death camps. They didn't begin until 1942 or 43. So I mean, you look at, historically speaking, we are in very much, I think we're in a lot of danger of repeating the same pattern that we saw in Germany, but also the same pattern that happened in Rome. How did Julius Caesar come to have so much power? It was because the Senate granted him these emergency powers that were never rescinded.
People always say it can't happen here, it can't happen here. Well, 100 years ago, if you could see where we are now, those people would say that would never happen. And if you look 200 and some years ago, our founding fathers said, absolutely, it will happen if you let these things go on. These events will happen. You will become slaves. You will become serfs. You give absolute full power to a president, an executive, who is supposed to be restricted by the Constitution and has a very small